All right, so we are ready to get started. And I see new faces here. Again, for the ones, every day with us, every Saturday with us, they know about this, but we are here to study some of the books from Allan Kardec. Allan Kardec has a series of 5 books, and we started with the spirits books, and we are following the version that it is available on this website. Kardecpedia is free, no charge, available for everybody, and we are following this so everybody stay on the same page, same version. And we did start with the book number 3, Moral Laws. This is our agenda. So we just had this lecture with Craig Hogan last Saturday. So we are here today. Next Saturday will be another day for us to study the spirits book. And then we have another lecture with Geraldo Lemos. He is a personal friend to Chico Xavier, the medium Chico Xavier, and he is bringing to us some real stories about this medium. And over here I have the following agenda until December the 18th. So we plan to have meetings until December the 18th, and then there will be some days off. So we resume next year. I don't remember the day in January, but it's the first week of January. And if you happen to miss, okay, guys. Okay, so, and if you happen to miss any of those lectures or any of those meetings, that's okay, because...
Can I cut you 1 second?
Yes.
I just would like to reinforce, don't lose Geraldo Lemos. It's amazing, his experience. He stayed with Chico Xavier very close for 20 years, 25 years, and it's amazing, his stories. It's really impressive.
Yeah, Geraldo, like I said, he was a personal friend to Chico Xavier, and he was nothing more but perhaps a little boy or teenager when he met Chico for the first time. And today he is a book writer, a very good speaker, and a very known person in Brazil because of his knowledge. And so if you happen to miss any of those meetings, that's okay, because if you go to the YouTube channel, Science and Spirituality Connection, then every Saturday or Sunday, we upload the new video, like to the YouTube channel. So with that, I'll go ahead and get started with a little introduction on the message for today. This is a real story, but it's not as important as the ones from Chico. This is a story from my own personal life, and so as I put a title, Ambassador or Diplomat, what is your call? Because when I was putting the slides together for today's meeting, I recalled this little story from when I was a little girl. So back in the days when I was very, very young, every family reunion, I remember this uncle of mine, every time that we met, he used to say loud and clear so everybody could hear what he was saying. He used to say that I should be a diplomat or an ambassador because I didn't look like a Brazilian girl. And as such, he used to say that, you know, if I was living in a foreigner land, then I'll not feel a stranger. I'll feel much more comfortable amongst my equals. Nobody would look at me as a stranger or as a foreigner, as sometimes happened back in the days. So I never felt like following a career like that, like learning about law, etc. But I truly believed, and I still do, that we all have a purpose. We all came here to do something. So we all came here to endure, fall and get up again, achieve, fail and try over and over, learn, overcome our difficulties, share what we learn, love. But most of all, I always thought strongly about serve. And that's what I believe what our ultimate goal is over here. We all want to learn and leave this world better than or improved, much more improved than when we got here in this lifetime. But I do believe each one of us can do amazing things and do much more. So we can plant little seeds here and there, share what we learn here, and give a higher purpose to our life, the purpose of service. So as this picture says, we cannot force anyone, but we can certainly plant a seed in many ways, including with our example. For no desire to serve does not get a response. The whole emphasis from our world is to uplift all who are ready to utilize their gifts in the service of those less fortunate than themselves. That's a very amazing, this is an amazing message from Silver Birch. So with that, let's go back to our book. So we are studying divine or natural laws, good and evil. And the question is, the next question is 633. Do I have a volunteer to read the question for me? A volunteer called Giles.
Okie dokie. Number 633. We cannot apply the rule of good and evil, what we might call reciprocity and solidarity, to the personal conduct of human beings in relation to themselves. Can we find the rule of conduct in natural law along with a safe guide? That's a question.
The answer?
And the answer, when you eat too much, it harms you. Well then, that is God letting you know what is necessary for you. And when you exceed that measure, you are punished. It is the same with everything else. Natural law establishes the limit for each person's needs. And when the limit is exceeded, the resulting suffering serves as atonement for the infraction. If humankind listened to the voice that says enough, they would avoid most of the troubles and misfortunes that they blame on nature.
Comments, folks?
Oh, yes, please.
Yes.
As humans in this incarnation, no matter what we do, we cause damage. If we eat meat, we're killing animals to eat meat. If we're a vegetarian, we're killing plants to eat. When we walk around, we step on insects. What we do always causes damage. And this is a rather painful realization. However, a great master, a Mexican master actually, a Mexican Indian master said, when you realize this, you understand that what you must do is cause as little damage as possible. So walk carefully, be careful, be aware of what you're doing so that you cause as little damage as possible.
This is a good one.
It's a good one. Yeah, I like it.
Yes,
But-
I'm very glad you talked about that. If you eat vegetables, you're also eating live living things. It's not just eating meat, which is what people seem to think.
Yeah.
That I'm good because I don't kill to eat, but it's all right. I can crush a vegetable. It's a living thing.
Not
is a
to
living thing.
mention. Oh, sorry, Una. Go ahead.
No, it's fine, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Not to mention that if we, let's say, if we all become vegetarian from one day to another, then all of a sudden the industry would have to occupy, because we do not have that capability yet, but the industry would have to occupy a vast area to plant everything, in order to feed the world. So people the vegetarians, they do not realize that today the farms are taking a vast amount of land and relocating or killing animals because they do not have food. They do not have the vegetables to eat. They need the vast area to pasture, like the buffaloes over here in US. They need a very vast area to pasture. And guess what? Those areas, they are getting smaller and smaller because we are occupying everywhere with the farms, so go ahead.
I don't want to go into this, but planting soya to feed cows. Cows eat grass. So you
Yes.
cut down a tree to plant soya to feed cows. I've not heard anything more diabolical than that.
Yeah, it's a good point, Hyacinth.
Yeah. But I want to point also that all the damage that we do, it is very much I don't think the word is compatible, but the higher the realization is, the higher or the more critical is the damage. I do not know if I'm being clear, but as we become more and more conscious, then the higher our responsibility.
Susie wants to speak.
Hi,
Oh, sorry.
guys. Yeah, I'd like to step this up just a fraction past food, because this relates to the whole thing of greed, doesn't it? The consumer society, the hoarding of money, and all action that we do, and I dare say it, but it also comes down to us overbreeding as well, and not looking after the planet for our greater good and everyone else's greater good, because we have a right to overpopulate the place, or so we say. That may be a touchy subject, but that's just how I see it. This covers that full gamut of what we're doing here on Earth.
It's a good point. Yeah, very good point as well. As a matter of fact, Susie, I do not know if you saw, but there is a new documentary. It's a brand new show in a broadcast. It's called Curiosity Stream, and that show is called Going Circular. So today, the scientists, they're no longer talking about recycling things, but they are talking about this circularity theory. So it's a very, have you seen that? I love it. I mean, I didn't finish watching the show, but it's something that it makes totally sense to me.
I haven't seen the show, but I know about the theory of the circle. And I mean, everything in life goes in this circle. So it's pretty obvious if you aren't tied up in that material economy, shall we say.
Yeah, it's a very nice one. If you haven't, if you know, for the rest of the folks, if you haven't seen, I highly recommend. It's a very nice one. Okay, any other comment on it? I guess we can go ahead and let me share, because I'm not sharing the actual book. So I guess we can go ahead and go to the next. So, see, Josie, would you like to read the question?
Me, my great reading. Okay. Why does evil exist in the natural things? I am speak of moral evil. Couldn't God have created a human race under more favorable conditions?
Well, what do we think, folks? Without cheating and reading the answer right now?
That's an easy one. This planet has been created to have major challenges, which it is apparently, according to the readings I've made of automatic writing, this planet is unusual, and there's a waiting list for it because the challenges are unusually tricky. I was going to say nasty, but I think difficult is the right answer. And there are thousands upon thousands of other planets with civilizations on them, which are actually much more civilized. We refer to them as aliens because, of course, they're not Earth beings, but they are, when you're born and raised in one of them, that's your natural way. And since they're much more civilized than this one, the challenges are much less difficult. You can incarnate there anytime you like. So couldn't God have created the human race under more favorable conditions? Yes, but that wasn't the point. This one is a tough one. And if we messed it up and destroy the entire planet, I'll bet you there's 5 more being brought forward at the same time within our own galaxy, let alone the rest of the universe. And I have to remind you, there's 200,000 million stars in our galaxy, most of which have planets. That's one galaxy. Yeah. And there are thousands upon thousands of millions of other galaxies. So, oh, plus we're immortal. So I think it's a wonderful situation.
Yes, well, you see, for me, Giles, there was a master who came to show us how we could live in peace. But we said, go away, we don't need you. End of story. And so there is no peace.
Well, I think many, more than one master has appeared. And if I remember correctly, in the Israeli Jews back around the 50 BC had a story about a Messiah appearing, and the Romans didn't like that. So apparently 71 Messiahs appeared and were immediately put to death by the Romans, because there's one thing that authorities don't like, and that is people calling themselves king or savior. Anyway, the story goes that our hero, our favorite, Jesus, was number 72.
That I had never heard, I have to say.
It's not as though he's the only one. This has happened again and again since in the last 2,000 years. And the rumor has it that there are 30 great masters always alive and well incarnated on the planet, of whom only 1 or 2 allow themselves to be seen as such. The others are working privately without letting on. I can draw your attention to Nasruddin in the Persian culture. If you look up Nasruddin on the website, you will find wonderful stories and pictures of Nasruddin, who was an invisible master, but going around making jokes of people's silliness.
All right. Any other comment?
Well, it's a planet of free will. Whether, you know, God may have intended other thing, or the creator may have intended something else, but he gave free will and the veil of forgetfulness. And those two things combined, I think, don't always make for the wisest or the most moral of choices being made on this planet.
Yeah, I love your comment, William. I really do. So yeah.
That's the universal law. There is free will, and you make your choice and you live by your choice, but people don't like to hear that.
Yeah. All right.
You read the
So
answer then? Should I read the answer?
yeah.
So we have already told you that when spirits are created, they are simple and ignorant. God leaves all human beings free to choose their own path. Too bad for them if they choose the wrong one. Their journey will be longer. If there were no mountains, human could not grasp the concept of climbing uphill and descending.
Yeah.
If there was no rocks, they could not understand the concept that hard bodies exist. Spirits must acquire experience, and to do this properly, they must know both good and bad. This is why there is a union of spirit and body.
So it is a hard work, but we have to do it. We have to use our intelligence to make our own choices, but this time in a smart way. Hopefully. All right, so the next here in my screen is Una. Una, would you please read for us the question?
635.
635.
Different social standings create new wants that are not the same for all human beings. Is natural law not a constant law?
Well, what do we think, folks?
Can I say?
Yeah.
I understand that's the lot of the progress. The natural law kind of, as soon as we progress and we get more evolved and understand more consciousness. I'm not sure if the natural law changed, but how we see, how we conceive the laws. I think that's the way we conceive and how we see that change as far as we progress.
Yeah, we become more aware of it. No comment? Una, would you please read the answer too?
Those different standings are found in nature and follow the law of progress. They do not undermine the unity of natural law, which applies to everything. Is the next part of it?
Yeah,
Part of the
there is
answer,
a,
Allan?
yes.
The conditions of the lives of human beings vary greatly depending on the time and place of existence. Therefore, different wants and social standings arise corresponding to those wants. Since this diversity depends on circumstances, it must be consistent with God's law. This law is singular in principle. Reason must distinguish between true wants and fabricated wants.
I love that comment. Louise, you were about to say something. Oh, Livia, go ahead.
I was about. I was thinking that it's linked to free will again, isn't it? Because we have natural law, but we can choose if we want to follow, as they say, not the true ones or the true ones or the fabricated ones that we make, not necessarily we need sometimes.
Yes, this is something the spirits, they privately, they call our attention very much to that. Many times we make up even duties for us to feel more comfortable in our vices. So many times we pass away, we cross over, and what we thought was renunciation was just a false renunciation, because we made up lots of duties and commitments that were delusional, you understand? And they say, well, come on, now go back and try to follow the real duties, the real thing, right? Because the necessities, the wants of the civilized, quote unquote, sometimes nations and populations are very delusional sometimes. You know this,
Yep.
you know. Well, like, for example, psychologists say that workaholics, they are usually running away from something from their inner side. Work lovers, no, it's not exact, but the workaholics, they are running away from something. And of course, society applauds, clap their hands to them, because they're working, they're making money, and things like that, full of wants, full of needs, full of commitment. But many times, most of them were not necessarily needed. So
Yes,
this-
especially in these materialistic days nowadays. And when we see, for example, the NDE experiences, we see that they have lots of different thoughts when they come back and change their lives and see, oh, I didn't need this, I really need that. And this is important for us to think when we see the life from the spiritual view.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember once, before Leda continues, I remember once there was a spirit here in Brazil that came through a medium called Irene. The spirit's name was Luis Sergio. And he said that once he was using a device, a kind of magnetic device made up in the spiritual planes, right? And he was analyzing someone psychologically, a kind of psychoscope. He was analyzing the person, and he started helping the person. The person was kind of glowing. He thought, my goodness, I'm very good at this. But when he looked behind, there was a very good spirit doing all the job for him with no equipment, no device. So, and that happens a lot in the higher spiritual realms. In the lower spiritual realms, people use a lot of equipment, a lot of device, magnetic devices, but the superior spirits, they don't have that need, because they have all that potential in themselves. Go, Leda.
Go ahead, Leda.
This different social standings, they have always made me wonder why they exist like that, because living in a country like Brazil, we see that all the time. If you go out in the streets, there's always someone begging and saying they're hungry, and it's very sad, actually. But Kardec, he has a very interesting thing that he says in the Gospel according to Spiritism, that he says well, if we could reach an equality that is total and everybody in the world would have the same amount of money now, then in a few days we'll have all the differences again, because the differences are not in the exterior thing, that it's within us, our abilities, our concerns with money and with social standings and everybody. Each one of us has different skills concerning that. So we would, within a very short time, we'll have all the different social standings again. So that helped me a little bit to understand that's all related to free will, like Livia said, right? We should try to be better, and we should try to help the others and make them be better as well. Help people to understand themselves and progress, right?
Very, very well said. Very good point. Giles, yes.
I had occasion to drive past Washington a number of times, and it struck me that Washington, being the center of money of the United States, is full of the very most corrupt people. So if I could put a neutron bomb, which didn't damage the buildings, but killed all the people, I'm sorry, I'd catch a few undeserving immigrants as well, that this would be a very good thing. But once they'd carted the bodies away and cleaned up everything and held their elections again, well, guess what? The same lot would be back. It would take maybe 10 years, and lo and behold, there would be the whole same thing again, while I would be in prison or executed for having done this social service. Of course, it would do nothing, because this is what we're like. And we always have to remember that we have many, many incarnations. And if it's our first few incarnations, I mean, I can put numbers on it, but if it's our first few incarnations, you can't expect anything but selfishness and nastiness, because we come from animals, and that's what comes with us. And then we grow out of it as humans, and maybe halfway through our incarnations, we start to become sane. Maybe earlier, who knows? And since we can take control of our own behavior and lives, we do have that free will, unlike the animals. I mean, I think the higher animals have a certain amount of free will. Check your dog if you leave it alone in the house during the day. And you come back and it's been bad. It knows it's been bad. It has free will.
We are laughing from you here. My husband is behind here, and we are laughing when we leave her alone.
Anyway, so we know this, and you can't tell by looking at somebody whether they're in their first few incarnations or later on. It's only the great masters who know this, who can know this. So the variations that we run into, there's a similar thing I've noticed in Europe. In Europe, if you go into a bar in the north of England, you know exactly what you've got. You've got English people getting drunk, and they're very ready for fighting and belligerence and bad manners. And in southern Spain, you go into a bar, and the noise level is 5 times as much, and they're not belligerent, they're very loud, and nobody is going to hit anybody. Because why? The national characteristics of behavior. However, in America, since it's immigrants all over the place, if you go into a bar and fetch up against somebody at the bar, you don't know who's next to you. And that's a similar situation with spirits. you don't know who's next to you. Is it somebody who's been around many times and is wise and can be talked to about these things? Or is it somebody who's just looking for a fight? Sorry, I think I've made it clear. One always has to have this caveat when one is discussing spiritual understanding of humans. Where are they on the scale? Okay, that's enough. Sorry.
And that's why I love the idea of reincarnation, is that you dealing with the mess that you created, so nobody else. Go ahead, Una.
Thanks. Yeah, your comment kind of feeds into what I was just going to ask. How does this question then link into before we reincarnate or before we come back on the planet? You know, the way you see different scenarios and things, and you have the choice to be like very poor or very rich, or to have addiction or not to have addiction. So if all of those things were gone from the earth, then what would the earth be like, or what choices on reincarnation would there be, or how would we learn?
Oh, no, the answer is very simple. You would choose a different planet. But the attraction of the earth is because of its challenges. And the automatic writing that I've read, I cannot quote the author, the source, unfortunately, says that there's actually a waiting list for the earth because of its challenges. Now, if the earth had vanished because which it will when the sun goes nova, goodbye earth, hello, well, now we've got to find another one. Like I said before, there are 100,000 million stars in our galaxy, 200,000, 300,000 million stars. So it's impossible not to imagine that there are 20 or 200 planets like Earth being brought forward even as we speak. The primeval jungles are growing, the dinosaurs are rocking about, and the apes are coming down from the trees. And by the time we need that planet, they'll be there. And no, there's no radio transmissions from them, so we don't know who they are yet. But when we're in the afterlife, we can ask around if we want to.
Yes, but why are we concerned with other planets and that? We have to deal with this one. This is the one we know. This is where we are. And I don't think anybody will know until they move along where they find themselves.
Hyacinth, there's a very easy answer to that one. This civilization will sort itself out. Is it going to take 500 years or 5,000 years? But in due course, there's going to be a civilization here. And there won't be poverty, famine, plague, disease. There'll be a civilization. And therefore, the planet will be less attractive. Now, it may take 5,000 years, but at that point, for incarnation's point of view, the planet is less attractive. And then there'll be plenty of others to choose from, as there already are. Sorry, it's Josephine.
Go ahead, Josie.
Just an add, we are going to study in this book. Kardec he does a very easy way to understand the classification of the worlds. He considered the worlds in 5 states where we call primitive. We are going to study, I'm not going to go into that, but it's really nice because it's help us to visualize that world like Earth right now. We are considered the second one, what called prove and inspiration on in English, probably. Probation. Yeah, we are here in the second level.
Atonement.
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 So we are going to this third stage that we are going to study here, guys, where we call regeneration, where we are going to live in a little better situation. It's going to be the next one where everything go up. It's always a progress. And another thing I want to like to say, I don't want to go to that because we're going to study, but Gilly said, it's everything about frequency. So what we attract, it's the attraction law. We attract what we send to the universe. It's vibration, it's frequency of your thoughts and your feelings. Everything, it's quantum physics, right? So when you go to a planet, you need to have the frequency of that planet. And can be low, can be medium, can be high, but that's what I see. I see usually we go where you have the frequency and you have the learning you need for your progress as a spirit in the whole.
Yeah, this book covers some of that, and there's other books from Chico Xavier that covers migration between and how it happens between all these worlds, depending on the evolution of those worlds. And we are here today. It is what it is, good or bad, but depending on the way that we behave over here, yes, we can go to even a lower stage, if you will, world, or we can continue and move to the next phase, which is regeneration. So I hope we do our homework well this time, and then we can all move to the next phase. All right, so shall we move on to the next question, or do we have any more comment? 1, 2, 3. Okay, Giles.
Well, of course, I have more comments. You say that move on to the next phase. Well, according to my understanding, the phase of animals that our spirits develop in, there is a grouping of animal spirits that takes place and which then becomes a human. How many animals and how many lives? Your guess is as good as mine, but the answer is many. And when the human experience is finished, then there's a grouping of human spirits, voluntary. This is not forcible. This is voluntary. A grouping of human spirits, which then make a new being, and the new being is called superhuman. And this is not an angel. This is way beyond that. One of the great masters described the next 3 stages as superhuman, divine, and absolute. And each is truly ineffable, to use that amazing word from Good Omens. If you haven't seen Good Omens, I highly recommend it. You will laugh your asses off. Good Omens was written by Neil Gaiman, and you can read the book or watch the TV series. Anyway, when humans move to the next stage, they have, at least 1,000 incarnations each, maybe 20,000 incarnations each. So when you have 40 humans voluntarily grouping together, think of your soul mates, then making a new being. This new being has 1 million incarnations as part of it, all of which experience is available to the new being. And what happens after that, there's no guess. The only guess I read was Geraldine Cummins, who said that there's incarnations take place in the middle of a sun. Well, there's a lot of real estate there. And if we can't understand what binds the spirit to our body in this incarnation, in the human incarnation, much less can we understand how the spirit is bound to an incandescent body in the middle of a nuclear fusion reaction in the sun. But I like that very much, because that is some story. And what their motivation is and how their enormous power is motivated is a wonderful mystery, which we will in due course find out. I'd love to hear some psychics telling me what the next stage is, but I don't think words are going to do it, because when you have 500,000 or 1.5 million incarnations in a pile, you are a being which is beyond all human reason. You don't have human problems anymore. You know that love and laughter are the motivations for life in the universe. You know this beyond all doubt because you have passed the human experience, filled the human experience. So the selfishness is gone, and the nasty behavior is gone. You've had all those incarnations, and you don't worry about previous human incarnations. Humans in their incarnations are nothing. You know perfectly well they're going to end up happy and laughing because there are no unhappy endings. So you leave them to it and get on with your own problems. Anyway, sorry, that's enough. Josephine.
No, actually, I was not going to say anything. Sorry, guys.
And in the meantime, we are still struggling trying to grasp moral values over here. So it's far beyond what.
I just would like to say that this classification that Joe said is about the planet, evolution of the planet, not of the spirits in the planet themselves. As we evolve, progress, and spirits evolve, the planet evolve too. And there's a time that the planet has to evolve. And this progress is necessary about, I don't know why it has this time, or it has its time, but the Spirit says that there is a time to the planet that there is no chance at all not to progress, because we can destroy the planet, and we have as a community or as a planet to evolve to a new level to survive, to the planet be a good school for us. So there is a time, as we have sometimes, to progress without so many suffering, the planet has this time too. And it's necessary, and it happens with us or without us.
Without us.
And it will really happen. And I don't know. The time it's not determined. It's not a time that's that time. No, there is a certain time that it has to it has to happen. But it's a progress of the planets, and it really happens. And as the Spirit said to Kardec, yes, like we are living now,
transitional time,
and there is some circumstances that lead us to go away, not to go
on.
And again, remember, I really recommend watching this show, Being Circular. And when you do, think about frequency, think about the whole planet as a living being, including all life, every single life in it. And think about that from the spiritualistic way of view. Try to watch that from this perspective of spiritualism, frequency, evolution, not only of us human beings, but the entire living being, which is this planet. So I'm saying it's a very interesting show to watch. It's a very interesting theory to know about it, because once you know all these concepts from the spiritualism, it is something. I'm not talking to you about it, but it is very interesting. I do recommend you to watch that. All right, so the next one, are good and evil absolute for all of humanity are good and evil, absolute for all of humanity? Don't cheat, Art. Don't read the answer yet. Just say it. What is your comment?
I don't think that we can say there are absolutes in anything. Things vary, situations vary, and I think we can categorize certain actions as good or evil, but to say they're absolute, I don't think so.
Well, why do you think it varies?
Because of society, or the different societies that exist.
Is that much about the society or the rules, or what do you think there is in that specific society that will?
Yeah, I think you just said something about the rules of that society. A lot of that determines what we would consider good and evil.
Any other comment? Very good. I like your comment. Any other?
I can't resist. I can't resist. Evil is selfish behavior. It doesn't exist as a separate thing, as a thing apart from human behavior. So I would invite anybody to show me that there's such a thing as a devil. They can show me an evil person. That's why I wanted to drop a neutron bomb on Washington, D.C., but it wouldn't do any good. They can show me selfish people and who are apparently evil, especially if they've got away with it for more than one incarnation. Oh boy, they are in deep shit if they have done 4 or 5 incarnations being absolutely selfish. There's no getting away from that. And that's what social work is for in the afterlife.
Yeah. Very good. I like your comment, Giles, as well. Anybody else? You're saying something, Louise, but you're on mute. No? Okay. Okay, so Art, would you please read the answer?
Okay. God's law is the same for everyone, but evil resides in the people's desire for it to happen. Good is always good, and evil is always evil, regardless of what a person's position may be. The difference is in the degree of accountability.
Isn't it? I really, really like the answer. Any comment on the answer?
Yeah, I was thinking about, as they said, the primitive people can do some evil things, but they have no conscience about it. And they will do, they will fight, they will kill people, they will do something, but they're surviving, it's for their living. And this is not so evil as when we do this. And it's like the progress and the free will too, again. But it's not a good thing at all. But it's not
The
so bad
accountability,
as we do the
I remember
highest
Jesus
we do.
Christ saying, Haisim knows the exact words, but I don't remember. But Jesus Christ saying that with the measure you measure the other, with that measure you will be measured.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it means that we make our karma bigger or smaller according to our level of consciousness, you know. So it's so important for us to understand and to know that, right? With the way we treat the others and our measure, the measure we measure all the people, this is the measure that will measure us. So the higher and deeper your consciousness is, right, the higher and deeper your responsibility will be for everything you do, man.
I think Jesus is the biggest alien that came here.
Yeah.
He said something so evolved from this planet.
Oh, that's why
that-
you run away from him. That is
Yes,
really.
and he was saying
I do agree with how you see, right? We do
Yeah.
run away from that guy, right?
yeah.
We go sideways wherever we bring up his teachings. But let's see. We learn
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah,
We learn.
that's why it's so important for us to know about ourselves and to become aware of our dark side. And you know, the more we know about it, the more we know about the consequences of what we do, of our attitudes. And with that comes responsibility and accountability, right? So when Art was saying, you know, it varies depending on the society or civilization,
Yeah, very well.
yeah, it's not much about, you know, how rich, but it's about how knowledgeable that civilization is in regards to our own responsibility in all of this, you know. Yes.
Yes. My understanding is that it's what is in the heart. This, you do something maybe because, okay, they see me doing it and say I'm a good girl. That means nothing. That counts for nothing.
Yeah.
Because I've done it to get praise. So that's nothing. And I do think that if people understood that they don't ever get away with the things they do, they will so sooner or later pay for it. This is a natural law, whether in this life or the next. You don't get away.
And what I like about what you said, Hyacinth, is that we need to keep in mind it's not a punishment. It's not God punishing you.
Exactly. It's
right.
Exactly.
But it's just because you have from what your own doing, now you have adapted. If you killed somebody and you should not be doing this, evidently, then now guess what? You have to repair, you have to fix it because you created that mess. It's not because somebody's punishing you, but it's because, hey, you need to learn your lesson well.
But before I pass it on to Art, it's very good to remember the mercy, right? Because there are several ways that we are endowed with for us to pay for it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and this is a very good point for us to remember. And then, if you did something very wrong, remember, if you do good, if you do good to people, to your neighbor, things can lessen in terms of debts. Okay, Art, please.
Oh, I was thinking of the, if I'm correct here, some of the Aztec societies, they had their own type of a ball game, and the losers died. Now that's probably, we would look on that as evil. I don't know how they would look on it as a society.
Yeah, I mean, we can say that they didn't know is that sometimes we have that. That's what Louise was talking about, mercy. If you do not know exactly what you are doing, if you do not know the extent of the evil you are doing, then you cannot be as responsible. It's still not a good thing, evidently, but it is always proportional to your level of awareness.
But if the custom and the culture where you find yourself is that you cut off someone's head and eat it, that's a custom and culture. And so to go against that would be what it is, so that when we look at it from today's point of view and judge somebody else's, it's difficult, I think.
I remember the Apostle Paul, I'm going to quote him when he says, "What the ignorant do is law. But if you know the law and you go against it, you'll be punished by it."
That's right.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. Giles?
Yes, the talk of mercy and forgiveness. Mercy is one thing, that is, persons can forgive their offenders, the people who cause them harm. That is possible. But forgiveness by a perpetrator doesn't make any sense at all.
So
Because
forgiveness. Sorry,
no,
Giles,
Hyacinth.
then I just want to hear. I didn't know. Is it? You said forgiveness by a perpetrator. Is that what you're saying? That's what I
No,
did.
Forgiveness by a victim
Yes, right.
is
Okay.
one wonderful thing. It makes
Right,
it
right.
strengthens the victim's spirit
Right.
and shows their maturity. But forgiveness of sins, when a perpetrator comes, ha ha ha, I'm sorry I killed and tortured all those people. Now I've found Jesus, I won't do it again. That is worthless because the victims are still there. And the pain the victims felt are still there.
Yeah, this was a fabrication of, institutions, right? This idea.
Yep,
yeah.
I just wanted to point that out. Mercy is one thing. Forgiveness of the offender is one thing by a victim, but forgiveness of the perpetrator has no meaning.
Yeah, what I was saying in terms of the measure Jesus Christ used to talk about is, if you are a very merciful person, of course, whenever you make a mistake, he'll give you more chance to get out of remorse and work for it, for you to cease your debt with divine justice more easily. But the debt is there. But of course, there is something to be.
The love can cover amount of sins.
Yes.
So love, you have to love. You have to work.
Yes.
You have to repair what you did, and you have to be a better person. Not in a day from another.
Atonement. Yes, that does help me. There's a sentence, I think, in the Spirit book. I think it said, "For God, it's better if you lose a tip of your finger doing good to others than staying 10 years in a bed to atone your sins."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Louis, he didn't say a finger. He said a whole hand.
Yeah, have you read it?
Being more precise.
But I'm talking about the Spirit book. Is it the Spirit book or in the Gospel you read that? Because I'm talking about the Spirit's book. I don't know if it's the Spirit's book.
Yeah, in the Spirit's book, it says a finger or an arm, right? The entire arm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When a spirit decides to make atonement and realizes that it had made mistakes on the lower dimensions, the social workers help that person, that spirit, to make atonement and rise above it. But since the perpetrator on the lower dimensions cannot find the victims, because the victims will have moved on, and so how can then the spirit involved in causing this trouble move forward, move upward, achieve growth? Well, that's where the word atonement comes in. So that's where social service comes in. That spirit then can become a low-level guide or a waiter or something, a nurse, and do that for as long as it takes until they have made atonement, and their guides can look at them and say, okay, your spirit is now cured, but they
Yep.
can't find the people that they hurt.
No,
And
no,
ask-
no, but I'm sorry, but I think that when you realize within yourself, my God, I was wrong, that's the first step.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
quite right, because at that point, then the social workers can then help you. Prior to that, when you're saying, I am perfect, don't get away from me, I'm surrounded by people just like me, and I love the way I am. When you're like that, no progress is possible.
Because then there's no love in your heart. Then your heart is just, you know, in the pits.
Exactly.
That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very well
Very
said.
good. Thumbs up, but very good conversation.
All right,
Can
folks.
I add something?
Yes, Lena.
I believe Paul said something like that I read the other day. It's a process because we have to, the words will, I won't find the words, but it's a process. You have to understand that you're sorry, and then you have to change yourself, because sometimes you understand that you're sorry, but you have to understand that you did wrong, but you don't, you haven't changed deep inside you.
You're
So
not
you
willing
have,
to change.
yeah, so you have to go through a process and sometimes live this atonement that Giles said. And through that process, through living some experiences, that's when you really change. You know that you need to change, but you change during the process. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes it takes lots of life experiences. Not only one, but more than one.
Yeah.
Any last comments, folks? Una, you're about to say something, or your cat?
Oh, can you see the cat?
Yes, he's passing around. Cute.
Very much. Bye.
No, it's all good, Anna.
Saying goodbye.
Okay, so folks,
Bye-bye.
thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining
Anna.
us today. And I really like the discussion today, very high level. And I ask you, God, to protect you all, to keep you all safe, with the eyes open and your ears open, your heart open to the lessons ahead of us. And may you know how to apply all of them towards good things in regards to you and the ones close to you. Thanks, Lord, for this day today. And see you next time, folks. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
See you.
Bye, thank you.